Oh boy, another old school Kekistani video. Oh boy. Calm down, children. Now is not the time for that. Right now is for serious talk. For those of you who don't care about my cancerous tendencies, welcome back to the Oversimplified Lore series. The series that has a title so I can skip over information and not be held accountable. You know what you're getting yourself into. Today we'll be going over the first 500 years of the first era of the Elder Scrolls. I will only be going over the huge notable events that occurred. Otherwise, this video would be very long, and I'm way too lazy to make it. I mean, just look at this. I haven't made a video in like 2.5 weeks. Or maybe it's 3 by now. I don't even know. Today's just audio day. First, a quick disclaimer. I kinda messed up on the Merethic era video. And I know it feels like it's been an era since that one passed, but the Falmer are actually blinded sometime in the first era. Just wanted to clear that up. Alright, without further ado, let's get into it, boyos. In the first year of the First Era, say that 5 times fast, King Eplier of Valenwood unites the tribalistic Bosmeri people and starts the Camoran Dynasty and begins the First Era. This empire would serve as a buffer between the Ayleid White Gold Tower and the Altmeri Kingdom of Alinor throughout the First Era, effectively separating the two. Over time, the separation would make the Ayleids and Altmer develop their kingdoms differently from each other, resulting in 2 sects of elven power. The Ayleids would eventually become their own completely autonomous society, completely free from Altmeri control. This Camoran dynasty would last very late into the First Era before it is conquered by another power, but we'll get to that later. Moving away from the elves, in year 68, the last ships from Edmora would land in Skyrim, containing mostly corpses, and it is assumed that after this last voyage, Edmora is frozen, and the continent is completely barren and uninhabitable. Later in year 113, the future ruler of the Kingdom of Skyrim was born. King Harald, 13th in the line of Ysgramor himself, would conquer the province of Skyrim from the Snow Elves in year 143. This would force them underground with the Dwemer, and that's where our blinding takes place. He would rule in the capital city of Windhelm until the ripe old age of 108, dying after raising 3 sons, the most notable being Hjalmir. Hjalmar would go on to take over the kingdom in year 222, but would die in the same year. Vrage the Gifted would take his place on the throne almost immediately, and under Vrage, Skyrim would see huge expansions into Cyrodiil, Morrowind, and High Rock in the year 240. In Cyrodiil, the Nords of Skyrim would take over a bit of land in the Nibelheim Valley. In High Rock, the Nords would drive the Drini clan of elves out of most of the province, giving the native Nedic population a much-needed boost in political power. And in Morrowind, the Nords violently invade, facing the forces of the nomadic Chimer and the advanced Dwemer races. The elves are eventually defeated, giving the kingdom of Skyrim the entirety of present-day Morrowind. The triumphs of men would not stop there, however. In Cyrodiil, the Needs, inspired by their slave queen Alessia, would rebel against their Ayleid overlords. The efforts of Pelennor Whitestrake would solidify the Nedic uprising in year 242, single-handedly decimating the Ayleids and making way for the Nordic armies of Skyrim, led by the demigod Morahouse, to continue their expansion into Cyrodiil. In year 243, the armies of men begin to siege the White Gold Tower. However, Pelennor would grow impatient of the waiting for the final attack on the city, so he charges in alone. Pelennor calls out the king of the White Gold Tower, Umaril the Unfeathered, and kills him in pitched combat. This, my friends, is what we call a badass. However, Pelennor is then slain by the remaining Ayleid forces before the armies of men complete their siege on the city. Alessia is declared Empress of Cyrodiil with Morahouse as her consort, but during her reign, she developed a religion which accepted elements of the Aldmeri pantheon, which angered the Nords who helped her rebel against the elves. Alessia would die in year 266 after being gifted the heart of Pelennor Whitestrake, the Amulet of Kings, blessed by Akatosh himself. The amulet would keep the dragonfires lit and would keep Daedra out of the realm of Mundus unless they are specifically summoned. Going back to High Rock, in year 355, the Drini clan of elves would begin to grow in power again and would conquer most of High Rock in the year 358. With that out of the way, jumping back to Cyrodiil, in year 361, the Alessian doctrines, a suppression of elven elements in the 8 Divines pantheon, would be enforced in Cyrodiil. Later, the Alessian order would begin enforcing the doctrine of a single unknowable god throughout most of the First Era. I don't think I need to say this, but the Nords also have a problem with this as well. Speaking of Nords, in year 369, King Borgas of Winterhold, the last direct descendant of Ysgramor, is torn apart by the Wild Hunt and buried with the Jagged Crown, which triggers a moot for the next High King of Skyrim. The moot would fail to choose the next qualified ruler of Skyrim from the royal family, Jarl Hansa, causing the War of Succession. Across the next few decades, Skyrim would lose all holdings in Cyrodiil, High Rock, and Morrowind, and it's also around this time that Harkon from Castle Volkihar reigns in his own domain. Moving away from Tamriel for a brief moment, we shall see what's going on with the Yokudans and Yokuda. Sometime around year 376, the power of the local emperors is diminished, causing 3 centuries of civil war. Back in Tamriel in year 420, don't say it, the Rorken clan of Dwemer refused to make peace with the native Chimer people in Morrowind. According to legend, the leader of Clan Rorken threw his legendary hammer Volendrung across Tamriel into modern-day Hammerfell and settled in said province. To this day, there are images in Hammerfell depicting the journey of these Dwemer from Morrowind to Hammerfell. Also, in Skyrim, the War of Succession is finally ended with the Pact of Chieftains. It is agreed upon that the moot shall only be deemed necessary if a king dies without a direct heir. As a result of the War of Succession, Olaf One-Eye, the legendary slayer of the dragon Numenex, becomes the High King of Skyrim. His reign would end in 452, however. As one ruler's reign would end, another would begin. In Cyrodiil in the year 461, Emperor Goricus is coronated at the White Gold Tower. His reign would see conflict between Skyrim and his Alessian Empire in year 478. Emperor Goricus would slay Kjorie the White of Skyrim on the battlefield. A man named Hogue would be elected as Kjorik's successor in Skyrim, though. Goricus would attempt to conquer Cololvia in an invasion, but the united forces of Kvach and Skingrad would repel his forces, and as other rulers in Cololvia saw this defiance, they too questioned the Alessian rule and developed separate regions known as the Cololvian Estates. This would serve to distinguish Cyrodiil as having separate kingdoms within the province. Other provinces such as the Darini-ruled High Rock and Skyrim would also agitate the borders of Cyrodiil. Later in year 482, the tensions come to a head as the allied forces of Clan Darini and Skyrim defeat the Alessian army in the Battle of Gonumbria Moors. The conflict between the 3 states proves to be very costly for all parties involved. Cyrodiil's power is greatly reduced for the following decades. Clan Darini loses much of its force and influence, which leads to a takeover of nobles in High Rock, and Skyrim's High King Hogue is killed. Skyrim then elects Ysmir Wolfhearth as the new High King of Skyrim. After his electing, he orders the destruction of all Alessian temples and the execution of all Alessian priests in Skyrim, and he then reinstates the traditional Nordic pantheon in Skyrim. And to end the video, in year 498 of the First Era, Clan Darini has lost much of its power to the human nobilities as mentioned before, and they now only hold power in the island of Balfiria in the Iliac Bay. Alright guys, well that video was a lot longer than I thought it would be, but hey, the things I do for y'all. Thanks for making it to the end. The First Era really has a lot of stuff going on during it, and there was no way I could fit everything in here in a small amount of time. I would like to thank Sophie from Discord for helping me compile this list, and also for just helping me get my lore straight. He is the one who caught the mistake in the Murthic area, so thank him very much. Also, we hit 100 subs a while ago, so I just want to say from the bottom of my meme-infested heart, thank you so much. I really can't express what it's been like to see my channel grow like this over the past few weeks, especially with my low upload rate, so thank you everyone. I really can't thank you enough. If you haven't already, be sure to join the Discord to chat with me and get announcements for future streams and videos. Other links are in the description too, so check them out, boyo. Alright, I'll see you all later. Have a good one, guys.